Welcome everyone into another lesson of the JSON API backend we are building in the Full-Time GoDev program, and I want to take this video to basically do a small recap. We are not done yet, but we are coming to the end of the JSON API series. Of course, we can basically keep building on this thing, but we're coming to an end, and I want to take some time to go over some architectural decisions, right? Why are we doing certain things certain ways, and are these the best ways? Absolutely not, right? Well, the best ways, what is the best way? There is no best way, right? Coding, programming in general is very important. I want to show you. Programming in general is very based. It's very opinionated, and everybody has his own methods and patterns and ways of doing things. And a certain way of doing things can be better or maybe a little bit more convenient than another way, but that's also very specific, right? It's also very application specific. You know what I mean? So you should never double question yourself, is this the correct way? You should always focus on producing stuff. You should focus on progress. You should focus on getting your application together. You should focus on keep triggering your reward system, on all this stuff, on injecting dopamine into your brain. It's very, very important. You could people will laugh about it, but it is what it is. It's very important if you want to get somewhere, right? If you want to get somewhere, if you want to build your startup later on. I don't know what you want to do with your life, but if you want to build something yourself, you need to focus on progressing, and it's something that I'm also trying to learn in every single thing I do. If it's on YouTube, if it's on Patreon, or if it's in this Full-Time GoDev program, right? It's not just we learning something, we build a project and I charge you money. No, this is basically a way of thinking. It's a lifestyle, so to say. All right, so let's get into this, right? I have a new lens, by the way. Let me know how it is. If you let me know how this new lens is feeling. All right, so we are in our project here. So what we want to do, first of all, I want to show you this user, right? So a question that they actually came up from a student, somebody that's following the program, and he said, these interfaces, Anthony, let's actually open up these storages first, right? Let me show user store, right? So these interfaces is nice, but an interface is basically, especially this one, the storage interfaces is made so we can swap them out with another implementation if we need to be, without changing our application at all, right? But is that the case in this application? Is that the case? Well, the problem is that if you look, for example, here at update user, right? We have this filter, right? And this filter is a bson m, right? And this bson m is basically very, very MongoDB. It's basically just MongoDB, right? It's a MongoDB thing. And if we want to basically implement, for example, a Postgres implementation of this user store, we can't. So we could actually fix this. This is going to be on the fly, and I didn't think about that, but we could make this filter basically a map string any. And actually, to be honest, we could, if you really want to do it, you could say, for example, you could make a type filter, right? And that type filter could be a map of string any, right? Anything, just like that. The question rather is, can we although filter, is that a good idea? Maybe, right? Actually, a map string any should be fine, but you could make it filter here. The question rather is, how are we going to make sure that, I think right now it's not going to work, right? If you do a make run, for example, it's going to bork out. You see, yes, it is. For example, here in these helpers, this Mongo user store does not implement anymore the user store interface. And why is that? Well, that's because we have this update user here, and this filter is going to be a filter, right? The question rather is if it's going to run. Maybe we have some, yeah, of course, cool. So the problem is here, right? Cannot use filter variable of type primitive m as db.filter in arguments, right? Although, in my opinion, this Bison M, where is filter here? Update 1. There should be a filter, and that's an interface, right? Look at this. The question rather is, how can we... I'm trying to figure out if we can make that. Let me see what the problem is. Cannot use filter. Oh, it's this one, update user, I see. Oh, wait, it's this one. Wait. It's going to be... where is filter coming from? Here. It's a Bison M, yeah. So what we're going to do here with this filter, I think we could do something like this. Filter, it's going to be a DB filter probably. Are we in DB? No, yeah. DB, filter, and do it like that. Problem solved, I guess. Yeah, it is. Problem is solved. Right? We're going to see if the problem is solved. I think it's going to work perfectly fine, but because you need to understand that the bison.m is basically a map string any. That's something like I said, I'm not a MongoDB specialist, but I worked for a company years and years, I think it's 10 years ago, where I was using MongoDB extensively, but it was, like I said, it was 10, 12 years ago, maybe 10, 11, let's say 10 years ago. Oh man, I'm basically demolishing my glasses. 10 years ago, I basically used MongoDB, and the library was a little bit different, right? But I can, back in my day that I used it, a Bison M was basically a map string any, right? And I think it's the same. I think underlying a Bison M is map string any. So that's why we basically, and the good thing is this update user, right? They took an interface which is basically compatible with anything, right? So it's going to work perfectly fine. So that's something we already did, right? If you go to user store, you see this interface is actually a little bit better. It's actually perfect, right? We have a context, we have a string for our IDs, which is for Postgres, you're going to use an int and a string and int. It's a bit nasty. Actually, what you should do here, you should do, for example, a get user by email. I'm going to call this email to. Just to give you an example how it could be, right? And you could say, for example, it could be an ID, right? And this ID, that could an ID or something, but I don't like I like it for example, because in Golang, the semantic is for each interface that it ends on interface, right? But an idea, I mean, guys, come on, that makes no sense at all. So we could say, for example, it could be a storer. That makes kind of sense, right? A storer, or for example, a hasher. Makes all sense, right? Or a transformer, right? Transformer, something like that. That makes all sense. But an idea, not going to happen. So you could say type ID interface, and you could say, for example, an ID interface needs to have the ID. You could say, for example, underlying or something, right? And that could be an anything. It's going to return this underlying value of this ID. And how this could work, for example, is then if you have user, we're going to not do that, but I'm just going to show you some kind of example here. You could say, for example, with this user, where is he here? It could be, for example, I'm going to call this ID2 so we don't conflict, right? Just for the sake of it could be an ID, right? Actually, to be honest, a db.id, right? Something like that. And then you could do something like if you want to fetch something, right? For example, you have this get user by email to. Where is user handler? Here. And let's say we want to get the user. The problem also is if you need to these user params, right? It's going to be nasty. No, wait, it's going to be a string for sure, actually, all the time, right? Actually, to be honest, I don't think it's bad, because I'm just thinking about something, guys, that I think this idea, which could be a solution, but I'm not a big fan. I'm going to say why. I'm going to say what I would do, right? It's a little bit of unpopular, but hey. Wait, we have some problems here with this ID shenanigans, right? This one, I'm going to delete that. Right, cool. Now we're Gucci, right? Make run here. Yeah, that's fine. Because the reason is that the most important thing is you need to think about where does the ID originate from, right? Postgres has an int. MongoDB uses an object ID, which is actually kind of a string, right? But the root of an ID, where does it come from? In a JSON API. It comes from the request, right? So, and what I mean by that is, if you go to handler here, IDs always come from cparams ID. You know what I mean? And that's always a string. Always, you know? So that you need to cast this string always to an int anyway, right? So instead of casting this in case of an integer database, for example, Postgres, Cassandra, or whatever you want to, MySQL, you name it, you're going to do this logic inside of your storage implementation, right? You see, for example, here, where do we do this? Like update, wait. Get user, for example, right? No, get user by ID. You see, this ID is a string, and for now, we need to convert the string. Let me kill, actually, to be honest, these Windows, yes. Yeah, this get user by ID, for example, it's a string, and in this case, we need to convert it anyway to an object ID, right? And for MySQL, we're going to convert that to an integer, which is a string conf.a to y, atoy or itoa, I forgot, something like that, right? So we just need to be aware that we make sure we don't use bson m inside of these things. These params types user update params is pretty fine because they work across the board, right? These params, and where are these boys? Cannot even GD them for some reason. They're going to be in user, probably. I'm in user. No, they're going to be here. User params, where are these mother? Yes, here, right? These update user params, it makes sense, right? These work for anything, right? To bson, you know what I mean? This is a JSON implemented stuff. Doesn't really matter in this case. So I think by changing this filter, and I'm actually very aware, let me see if we have this in Hotel Store also, or something like that. bson app, you see, in Hotel it's a little bit more. So we're going to refactor that. We're going to say it's going to be a filter here. I don't like this filter because I want to use it here, but that's not a filter. So we're gonna change that. Let me go back to, where do we do this? Probably in user store, right? So what I'm gonna say here, this ID interface, I'm gonna delete that. You're not gonna do this shenanigans. A dropper, fine. Filter. We're gonna call this a db dot map, which is a map string any. Makes sense, right? This db.map basically works for every single use case. That's what we're gonna do. db.map. That's the play. That's the angle. Filter is gonna be a db map, and that's gonna. I think it's gonna work perfectly fine. This needs to be a map here. Undefined filter. Let me click here. Map. And here's going to be a map. Maps are all over the place. So this hotel primitive object ID, this is a problem. Why do we do this? This should be a string, right? This should be a string. Let's refactor that real quick. Let me see where the problems arise. Wait, what function is that? Get hotel by ID. All right, that needs to be a string. We already convert this. Yeah, so what we need to do, very important here, and I'm actually very happy, the person, I'm going to quickly check Discord what his name was, because very nice questions here. Yes, thank you so much for answering these, for asking these questions, because I think it's very important. Yeah, and like I said, you guys purchased this program. So if you have feedback, if you want to see things, I'm going to implement them, right? This is not a quick course. I'm going to move on, of course, with the JSON API. It's going to be wrapped up very soon, and we go over to the microservices because it's a very important aspect. It's already a level higher where we're going to do more advanced things. But if you guys think something is missing, I will be the first one to implement an extra video or to explain something extra as, how do you say that, some kind of guarantee package, right? You know what I mean? This is for me. It's not a quick cash grab. You also need to understand all these videos is hours and hours of videos, takes also a lot of my time. But I'm here to bring some value, right? I want to have the best, how do you say that? The best testimonials is very important for me. I want to deliver quality. All right, so what we need to do in handle get or tell, we need to get rid of our database specific stuff in our handlers. It needs to be out of here. It needs to be out of here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to delete this. And this is going to be ID, right? Of course, it's going to work because get or tell by ID, we don't convert this thing, I guess. Nope, we don't, right? Here is fine to use this bees on them, right? But this is not going to be a primitive ID. This is going to be a string. And we're going to convert it here to object ID. And for example, for the MySQL implementation, you're going to convert it in your MySQL implementation to an int, right? So let me see, where do I do these conversions? User handler is going to be a lot of stuff. You look at this, we need to change all of that stuff to make that work. So we're going to do it here. OID is going to be this ID here. This could be a DB map, which is fine. Add invalid ID, that's going to be a problematic problem because that's that. Actually, to be honest, we can return this add valid ID because that's going to be API add valid ID. It's not going to work because now we are borked because we have a dependency cycle. That's fine. It's no problem because we don't really need to do that like this. And we could return, for example, to be honest, we could return this add because it's fine. Boom. Then we have this OID. So that basically means OID here, right? Beautiful. Beautiful. Let's filter. All good. I think we need to change this here. This put user. We're going to delete that. Boom. This is going to be a DB filter, a DB map. ID is going to be this is nasty, right? Because this is let me close this. Because we're going to use an update, right? We should do here, because we want to update everything, right? I think in this case it could make sense because we could do user ID here, right? Look at this, but that's not going to work because in update user here, we're going to put these params in this bson m, but these params will have a string. Maybe it's going to work. Maybe it's going to work as a string. Who knows? And I want to test that right now. Damn, what's going on? My camera is borked as I see. Let me see quickly. Probably overheated. It's probably overheated, to be honest. Ah, this camera overheated. It's the Sony A6100. They are so fucking terrible at overheating. So but it is what it is. All right. So Wait, do we have a problem here? Yeah, we have. So we're going to quickly fix this. This is a filter. Insert room. But that's a Mongo store, so that's pretty fine. Oh yeah, I see. This is This is basically because we call that. I see what's going on here. Also DB map. That's fine. We could do a DB map. We are in DB, so it's going to be a map. A map like that, and now it's going to be perfectly fine. Everything is going to be okay. So what I want to do is test this user real quick. If we can update that with a string ID, to be honest. Does not implement wrong type of get hotels. We want a primitive M, but we want that. Okay, cool. Where is this? Boom. Hotel. Hotel store. Quick refactor. So we are actually map is fine. I think we don't have it here. Based on M. Yeah, that's a problem here. Based on M, that needs to be DB. We are in DB, right? Map. Boom. Based on M, that needs to be a map, and the update is also going to be a map. And then we are okay. Let me clear the screen and make run. All right, cool. So what we're going to test real quick, and what I'm going to do then is basically I'm going to go over all the missing things, and then that's also covered. One more thing we need to cover also is the primitive ID in the user. But I have a solution for that. But let me quickly open up a Thunder request, please. Let me quickly open up a Thunder request. Localhost 5000 API v1. Problem is I need to have. Let me see it real quick here. I want to have. We should have a token anyway, right? I need a token. This is so annoying, not gonna lie. X API token. I'm gonna paste this bad boy in. Of course, we also need to do a content type here, application JSON, or it's not gonna work. Application JSON. And we're gonna basically. Can I do a get users? Invalid URL. It's fine. Cannot even make URLs. Can you imagine? All right. So we have some users here. This is James. I'm gonna copy this boy. I'm gonna do a put to /user. Perfectly fine. We're gonna need body. We have update params. That's a good question, right? We have update params. So it's gonna be what's going on here, man. It's so annoying. Yes. So I think it's going to be an email that I can change if I correctly have. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm gonna call this James at bar.com. That's gonna be it. Let's send that. Meta not allowed. Why not? Why not? Why can I not? Let me open up main. Method not allowed. We have users ID put, right? Handle put user /ID. Get put. Is that a problem? Is this a problem? This should be. This is nasty. I don't think so. Make run. That these two handlers override each other. No, it isn't. Oh yeah, ID of course. I'm stupid. We need to provide an ID. Of course, it's not gonna work. We're gonna say get here real quick to grab another ID here. Boom. Grab this bad boy here. Put. Boom. 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 You see, it's not updated, right? And I think it has to do with the ID. Because we still have James at foo.com, right? And we basically made this some random stuff, right? Let's try again. You see it's updated. So that's... We need to double check that because it's not. It's not. Get this user once again. No, it's not updated. The problem is that this ID is a string, right? Here in user handler. Because we say this user ID, which is this. So that's annoying. Very annoying. That's very annoying. What we could do is this is the filter, right? God damn it, update user. Let me see. We could actually say, for example, there are a couple things we can do that, and I don't like this, but this is the only way to have these interfaces work. If you want to have multiple support for this thing, it is what it is. If you want to have support in your application for multiple databases without later on to do any single piece of coding, you just implement it and it's all going to work perfectly fine. You will need to do some effort up front, right? You're going to add some extra complexity in the hope that if maybe you're going to change it later on, it's gonna save your life. In my opinion, what I always do if I make these things, okay, am I choosing for MongoDB? Okay, and I commit. That's what it is. And if I need to rewrite it later on, well, then I will refactor it. That's how I do things. The camera worked again, guys, no problem. It's going to be without camera. I think it's on for a long time. And it's also a big lens, so he's getting very hot. So I'm going to actually turn it off here real quick so he can cool down, right? All right. What am I doing here? What we could do is an update user here, and these params, you could update these, right? We could say, for example, OID is object, how do we say that? Primitive object ID from hex. From hex out of these params, and it's going to be params probably underscore ID, all right? It's going to be an any, so we're going to cast that to a string here. Oh, it's user params, shit. I mean this filter, that's what I want to do. This filter, if R is null, we're going to return the R, right? Then we have this object ID, and what we could do is basically do this, right? A little bit of tricking. We're going to say filter underscore ID is going to be this OID, right? What is this going to do here? That's because R is already a thing, all right? And then normally that should work. No new variables. All good. Let me see if this going to work here. Let me. Yes, we're gonna get this user is fine. We're gonna update. We're gonna put this user. Boom, and then we're gonna get this user once again. It's not. It's still not updating. So maybe there's a problem with this thing. Wait a minute. Do we actually have email to be updated? Wait a minute. I thought we look at this. User params. These update params. I don't think it's first name, last name. So guys, I think we could have some good news here. That's what I thought. I was thinking, what the fuck is going on? So I think we could do this and just leave the filter, revert it a little bit, go back to user handler, just set this as a string, make run, wait, no, because, make run, but we are going to update, instead of this email address that will not work, the first name. And we're going to change that to something, I don't know, let's call him Jimmy. caps, so we're sure that it's updated. Let's put this, and let's get him back. Okay, that didn't work. I'm gonna update this boy. We need to fix that, by the way. Let's get him. No, it's James. So let's do our second solution, which we think should work. And that's basically this one. We're gonna convert this back to an object ID, right? So we're gonna basically check the ID from the filter, make an object ID from it, and put that back into this filter ID, and then set that as filter to update 1. I hope that makes sense. Let's hope that works. Make run, because if that works, then we are pretty well set. Let's put this thing, boom, and let's get this thing, boom. Yeah, no. God damn it! Is update actually working? That's a thing. What is going on here? Last name. Let's do some crap in it. I don't care. Put user sent. It's updated. For some reason, it's not updated. Let's get this back. Boom. James Foo. It's bad. Bad. Alright, we need to fix this. And we need to fix it right now. Let me open up. What is going on? Handle put user. Let me open up. The only thing we do, db map underscore ID is user ID, right? Maybe our map is just not working, right? Maybe we need to this filter ID. Let me print this filter out, actually. Let's make run here. Get. Why is there no history, man? Why? Paste that in. All right, we have James back, so now we're going to update this. And of course, we don't have... I think the body is still here. That's fine. We're going to put this. I'm going to get him back here. So nothing happened, right? Nothing happened. We should see something here. It's going to be a map ID. You see, it's a beautiful object ID. So let's say we're going to trick this, right? Let's say we're going to say here that the F is going to be a beast on M. Let me, wait, to be honest, I could do this, right? I'm going to say a beast on M of underscore ID based on the OID here. Next solution. That's our next solution. Wait, that's get, right? Now I'm gonna put this. Alright. That's basically probably params is user params. How can that work? There should be params to BSON. What did we do? Where were we with our thoughts here? It's a bug. A bug is basically just a mistake. Wait, this is actually... Yeah, now it's working. Now it's working pretty fine. So that basically means, because now we don't know what works, right? We made a mistake here because these params needs to be to BSON, right? That's what we forgot. So we fixed that. God thanks. And now we are going to, let me try to fix my camera back on, because I don't like it without being seen my expressions on my face sometimes. It's important. Hello there. So I'm going to try one more thing. We're going to try one more thing, and it's just use a filter. We don't going to do this. We don't going to do this object ID. Yes, we're going to make a string. We're going to make it a string and see if that's going to work. We're going to do that. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to test. I have no clue if it's going to work, right? Sometimes you have no clue and you need to test things out yourself. So this is going to be Jimmy with a special thing. I'm going to update. I'm going to update this back to, I don't know, Jimmy Foo. I'm going to call this James. Back to James. James. Send this. Update it. Get him. Get him. It's Jimmy. It's Jimmy. It's back Jimmy, right? It's not good. It not work. Okay, cool. It doesn't work. So we're going to do this. This OID is perfectly fine. Wait, what are we doing here? Wait, this is ID. Wait, I'm confused. User ID is fine. Update user. Yeah. I'm so sorry. All right, here. So basically, this OID is fine. The next thing we're going to do is try to assign it to filter and see if that works. Otherwise, we need to make a new map, actually, right? It's a bit annoying, but that's this Mongo JSON thingy, man. It is what it is. Nothing we can do about it. Just can be smart enough to try to have something, make something around it, hack something around it. Get, boom, James Foo, right? So that works. So we don't need to just a simple map is working. So we don't need to reformat it to BSON M. We can just use our simple DB filter thing we made, DB map actually, which is just an interface map string any, right? But we need to make these IDs object IDs, right? So that's that. All right. So now the only thing that rests basically is this problematic problem we have. Let me delete this and this. Let me do a make run real quick. Yeah, that's fine. Worked perfectly okay. The next problem, which also comes from Yas, is this user thingy, is this. Right? We have this ID, which is a primitive object ID, right? So yeah, that's a good question, right? Because this is the only thing that ties us to MongoDB in the game, right? That's the only thing. All the rest we fixed, right? Our interfaces, maybe we forgot some, but we can already refactor interfaces so it's nothing to do with MongoDB anymore. We can use it for every single store, of course, with the needed massaging into our implementation itself, right? Massaging from string to object ID and from string to int in case of SQL and all that stuff. In this case, I'm not quite sure how we could fix that, because we need this ID here and able to retrieve documents. Because if we don't have this ID as a primitive object ID, for example, we make this a string, right? Just like that. And let's copy this, paste that in. Let me make this a string just to test, because I don't know, right? If I was the creator of this library, I would basically have better support for strings, to be honest. But hey, this user, so let me make run to see. Yeah, of course, it's going to be, yeah, we're going to have problems there. Because we set that, right? We set these things. Where do we set that? Let me search these things here. Oh man, it's every fucking where. It's everywhere. Yeah. If that's the only thing that's going to bind us, for example, if you want to change that to another implementation, but what if we have... I need to think about that in a better way, because I cannot really quickly test this, because if I really need to test it right now, it's going to break all our code, and then I need to fix everything, and it's going to be a pain in the ass. But the only thing that basically ties us still to MongoDB is basically this primitive object ID. We could do something like, for example, a Mongo ID and map that ID to, let's copy this, right? Wait, let's, yes, fine. We could do something like a Mongo ID and tie this Mongo ID to a primitive object ID here, because we map this to _ID, which is perfectly fine. And what we also could do is add support for example, an how does it call that? PGID, a Postgres ID, for example, which is going to be an integer, right? And we don't need bson in this case because it's Postgres, but you could do, please, it's the Vim J key. It's always the same problem because it's my escape key. So you could make a PGID here, which is a Postgres ID, and this Postgres ID is going to be an integer, right? So right now, but the only thing you need to do is do some small refactors in your code. So you use a Mongo ID, and use a Mongo ID for Mongo stuff. And then you could set the ID for the user itself to an any type, but you know what I mean? It's nasty. It's just nasty, guys. You need to understand. There is a way to do that. The question is, how far in this rabbit hole are we going to go? This video is already 42 minutes, and the only thing we did was basically discussing architectural changes, and I'm not even done, because I also want to discover, but I'm going to leave that for another video, for the next lesson. I want to discover why we are not embedding stuff into MongoDB, because MongoDB is the main power of MongoDB is to embed stuff, right? Why don't we do that, and what things we should embed and what things we most likely we're not going to embed and all that stuff. But hey, it's already 42 minutes of pain here. I hope this video is not a lot of code we've written, but I think it's going to be an interesting video to see how we could change our code and able to make it more generic, dynamic based, so we can actually really do not tie our code base to a specific database with these bson and all that stuff. The only problem we have is this ID here, which I also really want to fix, because I think it's very interesting for me also to see the couple the solutions that can came up to do this, right? But like I always say what I said in the beginning, choose for MongoDB, I commit for MongoDB. Am I using interfaces? Yes, I will use interfaces for that. I will do the same thing with these stores, right? This is a pattern that I'm using all the time. Room story, for example. I will make these implementations, these interfaces, but I will only use them for making an in-memory storage implementation. So if I need to test, I can easily test without the need of having a MongoDB database spin up. Right? Without the need of doing the setup and tier and all that stuff, I can just delete stuff from a map and a memory map, and we're good to go. Right? I hope that makes sense. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye-bye.